Hey Vin, I am confident when presenting to an audience, but I struggle with online, behind a camera with no audience. What is the key skill to helping me overcome this brain fog? First of all, I just want to say, Anonymous, that this is hard for all of us. This is hard for everyone because the ability to, in a way, perform for the camera is a very different ability when compared to performing on stage for one fundamental reason. The one fundamental reason why it's different is because when you're on stage, when you give energy to an audience and you do it well, you're also getting energy back in return. Whereas all of a sudden, if you think about it, while I'm recording this Q&A, there's actually no audience. There's no one here actually giving me any energy in return, which then makes it a really unfair exchange if you think about it. Whereas for a lot of times when you're presenting in person, you presenting in person, it energizes you. Whereas here, when I'm doing a video like this, it actually depletes me. So again, it goes back to the importance of having different things that you can do to rejuvenate yourself. That's really important. So I just wanted to start with that by saying we all are not as good on camera as we are when we're in person. It's a very different skill set. They're two very different skill sets. Another big key to being better on camera and presenting virtually online is energy. The moment someone sits in front of a camera, their energy levels drop significantly, right? Because it's not natural to have such high levels of energy when you're just talking to a camera. I mean, there's nobody in the office and I'm talking as if there's people here. If someone was watching me to the side, they'll be like, oh man, Vin, there's no one actually there. You're not even talking to anyone. You're being so weird. It's a new way of communicating that many people are not learning and they're not mastering this particular skill set, which means there's a huge advantage for those of us who are willing to put in the work to become better in this particular medium. If you notice as well, I want to not only have more vocal presence in this particular arena, because by increasing volume, playing with my vocal foundations, changing between archetypes, I'm now able to be vocally dynamic, and I have to amp it up an extra level. Now, not only do I have to do that auditorily, I also have to do that visually. So if you notice, I'm trying to take up the entire screen here that I have access to, because the more of the screen that I take up, the more vibrant I come across visually. And that's what they call virtual presence. There's such thing as virtual presence and there's such thing as physical presence. And both of them are based around the same thing. How much space are you taking up in person? How much space are you taking up with the box that you've been given? If you enhance these two areas, you're going to come across much more influential when it comes to virtual communication. Next question we got here from Anonymous. Vin, what's a great small talk technique? There are many, but I'll share with you one. There's something I call 3-2-1. And 3-2-1 essentially is 3 steps to, 2 types of, and the one thing. I'll explain. So let's say all my friends are talking and I wanted to join in on the small talk. And let's say, for example, they're all talking about giving gifts. Okay, they're saying giving gifts. They're talking about, people don't really know how to give gifts really well and you want to get involved in on that small talk. Well, then you can just have a framework in your own mind to think, well, there are 3 steps to giving a gift. There are 2 types of gift giving. And there's one thing you all have to know when it comes to gift giving. And you can just pick one of those things to be able to contribute to the conversation. So let's say, for example, you pick the 3 steps to, you could, in that moment, have that framework. And if it's your turn to talk, you can say, oh, I love that we're talking about gift giving. You know, when I think about giving gifts, I think about there are 3 critical steps. Number 1 is you have to do your research. You have to do your research on the person. The number 2 is you want to use Google as your friend. So once you've kind of done the research, you know what they want, use Google as a really important tool to be able to find reviews on what you're going to get that person. And then number 3, I think the most important step, once you've got the gift, is the gift wrapping and the card. I think that is where it's at. That's just me improvising. So that's one way you can engage in on the conversation. It just gives you a framework. And then maybe it's 2 types. And then you think, okay, it's your turn to talk. Maybe you didn't choose the 3 steps. You chose the 2 types. You can simply say something like this. You can say, well, if you're asking me, I think there are 2 types of gifts. There are material gifts and then there are gifts that are experiences. And I got to tell you, I love receiving gifts that are experiences. And that's why I love giving gifts that are experiences. So all of a sudden, it gives you a framework to be able to take all of these thoughts you have on a particular topic and it allows you to put it through a framework to be able to engage in some small talk. Or you can say the one thing, right? So again, remember 3-2-1, 3 steps to, 2 types of, and the one thing. You can say, the one thing for me with gifts that's really important is it needs to be thoughtful. It can't just be expensive. It needs to be thoughtful. And when I get a gift where I know that person spent time thinking about what's important to me, and that to me means everything. And sometimes it has no real material value, but the emotional value is super important. Right? That is a wonderful small talk framework that I use when I'm out and about with my friends, when I'm out and about communicating with new people, and I want to jump in and talk about something that they're already talking about. I use the 3-2-1 framework. Hey, Carlos, with the next question. What's a good daily routine you recommend for someone who wants to communicate in a more articulate and energetic way? I think in order to become more articulate, you need to engage in all of your facial expressions when communicating. The facial exercises are a fantastic daily routine to get into. It's making your face big and small, big and small, big and small, 30 seconds. After that, moving your jaw from side to side, 30 seconds. After that, it's about moving your eyebrows up and down, up and down, up and down, up and down, 30 seconds. After that, you also want to pretend you're chewing a really big piece of gum, 30 seconds. And then after that, you want to do lip trills, 30 seconds. And I would even add into that, do the siren technique. The siren technique. Grab a book, turn to a random page, and then you start reading with a low pitch. In China, in the early 16th century BC, the kingdom of Wu began a war with the neighboring northern provinces of the Middle Kingdom. Don't be afraid to go really high. And then you come back down. For centuries, the Chinese culture, by defeating the Middle Kingdom, the king of Wu would instantly raise his status. So when you're doing this, there's going to be lots of breaks everywhere. You'll notice yourself going, right now I'm going to go, and the reason those breaks happen is because you're trying to transition between notes too quickly. So all you have to do to try to smooth out those notes a little is you want to be able to move between the different notes slowly. And one of the reasons why I'll do the siren technique is because it wakes up your voice. And if you did all of this, and it would take you, my goodness, it'll take you 3 to 4 minutes. This would just wake all of your articulators up. When I get up in the morning, you wake up and you're like, oh, is it morning already? What the hell? Your voice hasn't woken up, your face hasn't woken up, your body language hasn't woken up. You do all of this, all of a sudden, it's a gear shift. It's a wonderful gear shift. These are wonderful little ways just to wake your voice up, wake your face up, and help you be more articulate, more expressive, more energetic. I also believe mindset has a lot to do with it. And when I think about making these videos, this is the mindset that I have. I just think to myself, Vinh, you have an opportunity here to serve hundreds of people. And if you don't do these Q&As in the right way, if you're not generous with your energy, then even if you say the right thing, the person on the other end of this, Vinh, they may not be inspired to take action. And Vinh, if you truly want to create change, something you say in this video could radically change someone's life. But if you don't say it in the right way, that is a missed opportunity, and now they're not going to take action and you will not change anyone's life. So Vinh, it's an absolute honor to have the ability to change somebody's life. Take it seriously. Don't take it lightly. You change the world by changing one person's world at a time. And I kind of have that mindset. And by having that mindset, sorry, eye booger, but having that mindset really inspires me to give you the best version of me I possibly can. And you've got to understand too that, Carlos, when you're communicating, anytime you're talking to anyone, you have the opportunity to change their life. I know it sounds like hyperbole. I know it sounds like, oh, Vinh, that's so dramatic. But it's true. It's true. I still remember when I first did one of my first keynotes ever, I remember walking off stage and the CEO of the company walked up to me and he said these words to me. He said, have you done this before? And his word choice and the way he said it ruined my entire week because I just went, oh man, I suck. I absolutely suck. I shouldn't be a keynote speaker. I shouldn't do this. Maybe I'll just go back to being a magician. And it just destroyed my week. And then after a week, I got a call from him. And on that call, he said, hey, Vinh, I thought about what I said. I apologize. I only said that because, we paid you a lot of money and you didn't do that great of a job. And I could have been more elegant in the way I went about it. So Vinh, what I've done is, I want to set up a call for us, 30 minutes. I'm going to walk you through how you can improve. And on that 30-minute call, he re-inspired me to continue my journey as a keynote speaker. Otherwise, I genuinely would have stopped. But because he recognized what he did, again, you can use your voice to completely destroy someone's week and make them change careers, or you can use your voice to inspire them to continue with the career that they thought they initially sucked at. And I credit him so much because he really turned it around. I mean, he did use it to punch me in the face, metaphorically speaking. But then after that, he came along and gave me a hug, which was a very confusing experience. But it just goes to show that a conversation you have with someone, if you do it in the right way, use your voice in the right way, your selection of words has been chosen carefully, you use the right archetypes, that talk or that conversation for someone could be life-changing.